Today we're going to talk about putting ribbon in your Christmas tree. This is a question that I seem to get asked a lot, particularly by friends. How do I put ribbon inside my trees? I've done all kinds of different ribbon, wired, non-wired. I've done burlap, and this year I've decided to actually just use the mesh ribbon. This stuff's a little tricky to work with in trees because it's not wired, so it doesn't bend exactly how you want it. I'm going to just double it up because it's so light as it is. I'm just going to end up folding it like this when I put it in the tree. And people always ask, how on earth did you get your ribbon so well incorporated? The trick is to cut your ribbon into small sections, but you're going to end up shoving it in all over the place, so you're not necessarily going to see where it starts and where it stops. When I do ribbon, I would cut probably no longer than maybe 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet. So just go ahead and cut it. Fold this in half, and I'm going to weave it in. Again, with it, when you're working with this mesh, I might even actually want to cut it smaller pieces. Because it's not wired, it's going to be more difficult to work with. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut a couple of pieces of the mesh, and then I'm going to show you how to start putting it in your tree. Excuse the attire today. We've been it's a lazy Saturday here at the house. So we've got our short pieces of mesh. This technique works for ribbon, for burlap, and clearly for mesh as well. I just put in my first piece. So I want it to look a little bit more dramatic. So that's why I've decided to fold it up. But if you don't want it quite as thick, you could go ahead and cut right along here, and you could get 2 pieces out of this. So again, this is not wired, so it is a bit trickier than if you're working with wired ribbon. So like for instance, this is stuff I used to work with on one year when I did my tree, and as you can see, the edges are all wired. So that makes it a lot easier when trying to place it in trees. You can also see they're short pieces, but I'm not working with this color this year. Okay, so you're gonna take, there really is no rhyme or reason to this. You don't wanna overthink it. This is like, I am a perfectionist, but when it comes to my trees, that has to just kind of be put aside because you don't want it to be, you know, symmetrical. You don't want it to, you just want it to feel organic and like you just threw things on there. Fold it in half. The edges kind of get stuck on things. So what you're gonna do is you're kind of gonna make it into like a smaller piece in the back or at the end, and you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna tuck it into your tree. Try to get it just secure. Make sure it's still full. If you're gonna fold your mesh in half, make sure that it's folded and just start maneuvering it. And so you're gonna come out and over, and then you're gonna try to shove a piece in, and you don't have to worry, like it's not set in place necessarily. And so you see how this naturally just fell. I'm gonna try to follow that. So I'm gonna grab down here, and I've shoved it kind of right in here. Shove it a little bit further back. And then we're gonna come around and put it down here. And then what I am noticing about this mesh that's kind of nice is that even though it's not wired, because the edges are so sticky, it's sticking really well to the branches. And so I've got one coming this way, one coming that way. So now what I'm gonna do, you obviously need to leave some spots for your decorations. So right here you can see there's a hole, so I'm just gonna go ahead, kind of gather it together at the edge, at the end, and you're just gonna try and shove it back as far as you can, kind of wrap it around a branch, and it's kind of puffing up inside there, but that's okay because it's actually filling the hole nicely. And keep it folded. Here, and tucking it into some branches. And again, it just kind of fell naturally, and then I'm going to gather it again at the end. And you're going to be able to play with this once you start putting in your various other pieces. You're going to be able, you can move branches around. You want it to look like it kind of came from inside the tree, this mesh. Tip I want to give you is to always stand back and evaluate after everything you put on your tree, whether it's the mesh or the flowers or the ornaments. You just always want to be looking for where is that next opening to go in. And again, you don't want it to look so uniform and symmetrical. So you just want it to, especially with the ribbon, you want it to look just very organic. So always make sure you're stepping back and looking at it. Have it, the finished look of the mesh. I've added in the few strands of gold that I had, and that is how you do your ribbon. And